Hello, welcome back.
I can feel it in my bones. And nothing to ask some more. Got me looking like a clown. Tell me why we let us down.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Ellie and I make videos about travel and my life as a master's student in London and whatever else is going to come next. At the moment, I'm finishing off my degree and I'm finally planning some travel post graduation. And I thought I would make a video today about how I would go about, or how I do go about, planning a road trip and my tips and tricks with that. I've planned a lot of trips over the years, both for my family and solo and with friends. I tend to be the planner in the group, kind of predictably so, I guess. I just wanted to share a bit how I do it and hope this helps somebody out. So my first step that I tend to take when I'm planning a trip is decide on the three big factors. So the rough destination, my budget, and the time that I have to do this trip. So those are I would say the three biggest factors. So like how much money do you want to spend? Where do you want to go? More or less, like what country or what continent or what city? And how many days, weeks, months do you have to spend? And after that, I will go and I'll start reading blogs about people that have gone to these places. I like to literally go online and type in searches with the word itinerary in the search line. So it'll say like 3-day itinerary Rome or 3-week itinerary Indonesia. And I find that the word itinerary really narrows down the search to blog posts that discuss step by step which places the person recommends and why. And a tip with that is to read the blogger's bio so that you make sure that they are a type of person that you relate to in terms of your travel style. Maybe you're around the same age or you like the same types of things. A classic one is like Nomadic Matt, for example. He has loads of posts, and there's a couple other sort of people that post about all types of destinations, but usually I just go to Google and see what I find to get started. And then after reading a bunch of blogs, I have an idea of what places are worth going to in that city or that country. I also, in this step, ask people in my life that have been to that destination for recommendations and add those to my mental list or physical list of places to go because they might have some key insight that the internet wouldn't have. Third step is to go get some materials, like physical materials about the place. So I do really like reading guidebooks like Lonely Planet or Inside Guides, for example, but generally I get a Lonely Planet guidebook. I just think they're really fun to read anyway. And I'll get some maps. I'll start sort of exploring the destination overall beyond just blog posts. And then after all that, I'll usually have a pretty good idea of what people like to do in that country and what there is to do and how much everything costs and how long I need to stay and all that. And then I'll get to planning and I'll make a rough guide of my own itinerary. And I'll usually do this in the form of some sort of table, like an Excel sheet or a table on a Word document, or just writing it down on paper, or both. And those tables will usually have a column for the date and the day, then what I want to do that day, where I want to sleep, and some information about the sleeping location, as in the name of the hotel, how much it costs a night, have I booked it, is it free cancellation, that type of thing. So we have day, night, and like lodging, basically, and I find that that's a good amount of information to have for each day. Obviously, you don't have to plan out every single day, but if you're planning more of a road trip style trip, which was what I was doing this time around, it's nice to get a rough idea of how much time you'll need in each destination to make the overall plan work out in the end. So while I'm making this itinerary, I'll also calculate the travel times between each destinations. So if you're doing a trip where you're moving on from destination to destination, it's important to know what your travel times are because that could be a whole day of just driving or taking a ferry or whatever. So I'll use Google Maps in tandem and kind of calculate all the driving times and check what places there are to stop along the way and note those down as well. And then after all that, I'll usually have decided on a rough itinerary of where I want to sleep, what travel connections I need to book, and what the approximate plan is. And then I'll go into finding places to stay. So how I do that is I'll start with going on sites like booking.com and Airbnb. Those are kind of my favorites. And then sometimes for hostels, I'll also use Hostelworld. And basically, I'll just look at places only that have free cancellation in this first step. And I'll kind of tell you why in a moment. And I guess everybody's different this way, but I like to plan the whole thing with as much as free cancellation as possible. And then in a second step, once that's done, I'll go in again if I have time and see if there were places that weren't free cancellation or on Airbnb, for example, that are nicer, that I might want to like upgrade to and cancel the free cancellation ones. But if you're in a time crunch and you're planning on a budget and with not too much time left, it might be a good idea to just get something booked so you have something to go on. So then once everything is booked in terms of accommodation, I'll write all the bookings down and make sure that it all makes sense. And often there's sales on booking.com, so that's really convenient. If you're booking accommodations, maybe check the next day again just in case something has gone on sale. That happened to me many times, that it was like half the price the next day, so I canceled my booking and then rebooked. And then after all that, you really have your whole trip put together. I do think that when you're traveling, seeing less is more most of the time. I'm not a big fan of stressing myself out to see the entirety of a country or every single stop on a road trip itinerary that other people do. I really like spending some time in places and getting to know a location and not feeling hurried or stressed on a trip. So I think less is more. I also think along the same lines that 2 nights in one place is better than one. If you can manage it in terms of your travel dates, it's so much nicer to have 2 dates in one location, because the first day that you arrive, it's usually only a half day anyway, and then the second day is the only one that you really get to experience your hotel. And if you're paying for expensive accommodation, it's a shame to just stop there, sleep for the night, and then leave the next morning. And then finally, I also would highly recommend looking for places with kitchens. So on the road trip that I'm planning at the moment, I booked, I would say, over half of the accommodations in places that offer kitchen facilities so that I can cook my own meals, and that makes a huge difference, I think, to your budget overall and flexibility in general of not having to find a hotel, not having to arrive at a certain time of day. Also, if you have dietary requirements or anything, it's really convenient. So those are my main steps that I go through when I plan a road trip or any trip really. And at the moment, I'm planning a road trip to California with my grandma, or in California. My grandma lives in California anyway, but I haven't been to the South at all hardly because she lives up north, so I'm really looking forward to doing a 3-week trip in Southern/Central California. And if you want to see my itinerary for that and all the different stops that I've planned and why I chose certain destinations, please click on my future videos, as that one's coming up soon as well. And then once I'm in California in September, I'll of course be making content of the trip. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great day, whoever you are, wherever you are. Bye!
Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning.